6:31 in the morning, and the temperature outside is colder than it should be for late September in Chicago. I'm sitting here inside what used to be the backup booth for 104.3 FM, a room no one ever took seriously until the rest of the system died 2 days ago and left us with nothing. But this closet full of old boards, dusty dials, and a generator that sounds like it's coughing itself to death every 10 minutes. My name is Rick Calder, and if you're listening to this, it means your battery still has a little life left, or maybe you found one of those hand crank radios people used to laugh at during camping trips. I didn't expect to be broadcasting from this place, not after everything that's happened outside, not after the long night I just had. But I promised myself someone out there might still be listening, someone trying to understand what went wrong and why the world sounds like it's being peeled open piece by piece. The air outside smells like burned plastic and something metallic that sticks to your throat. The streets are quiet in a way I've never heard in this city. Not even during storms. Not even during the worst winters when no one wants to leave their homes. The silence isn't natural. It's heavy, like it's pressing against the buildings and holding everything still. The only noise I heard before coming in here was the wind hitting a loose stop sign and the faint crackle of car alarms that ran themselves into the ground hours ago. Nothing else. If you had to choose a place to hole up during the collapse, what city, state, or building would it be? Why? Let me know in the comments below. I'm running this broadcast on a power line that shouldn't even still work. The tech guys used to call it the grave wire. This old underground line tied to the generator that was supposed to be replaced a decade ago. No one ever did because this place was at the bottom of the budget cut list year after year. Funny how the thing everyone ignored is now the only reason I can talk to you. I don't even know how long the setup will last. But as long as these lights stay on and my voice can go out, I'm not stopping. I've been awake for about 22 hours now, maybe more, because time doesn't feel real anymore. The clocks keep resetting. My phone died in the middle of the night. The digital displays on the boards flicker like someone keeps turning the power on and off in split seconds. But the analog stuff works. The old frequency meter sits steady. The little red light telling me I'm broadcasting hasn't gone out once. That's all I need. I want to start from the beginning, not because it will fix anything, but because it helps keep my head straight. 2 days ago, people in the city started talking about weird problems with their phones. At first it was just dropped calls, then apps freezing, then phones crashing completely. Someone said the cloud servers were down, but that didn't explain why even offline things stopped working. Then it hit the cars. Anyone driving just stopped. Engines shutting off even while moving. I saw it myself at around 3 in the afternoon on Michigan Avenue. I was heading to the station when the SUV in front of me rolled to a dead stop in the middle of the road. The driver got out, confused, yelling at the engine like it could hear him. Then more cars shut down, one by one, like a wave moving through the street. I heard brakes screeching, people shouting, horns blaring even though no one was touching them. It was chaos without any impact, just a sudden death of motion. Someone dropped their e-bike because the motor locked up. A delivery robot toppled over like it fainted. People looked at each other like maybe it was some kind of prank or a glitch that would fix itself if they waited. But it didn't fix itself. And that was just the start. When I finally reached the station, half the office was outside trying to restart their cars or calling tow trucks. The other half were inside staring at black screens that used to run the whole broadcast system. Our producer, Eddie, kept hitting the main power switch like he could force life back into the servers. The emergency broadcast software was frozen on a blank screen showing nothing but a blinking underscore, like an old computer waiting for someone to type something. I remember the quiet in the studio being so loud you could hear people's breathing. Phones weren't ringing. News alerts weren't coming in. Nothing. The weirdest thing was that none of the backup systems worked. It was like someone reached into the wiring and cut the nerves instead of the cords. I kept checking the TV in the lobby, hoping one of the channels would say something. Anything. They all froze at the exact same moment, like the last frame of normal life got burned onto the screen. Around 7 in the evening, one of the engineers, an older guy named Sam who worked here for almost 30 years before retiring last spring, showed up because he said he noticed something wrong with the radio bands at home. He came in wearing an old jacket with grease stains and this look on his face like he already knew what he'd find. He went straight to the basement and checked the transmitter relays, then came back up with a pale face and said something was hitting the power grid in waves. He said it was like the grid was getting punched by invisible hands. He talked about electromagnetic surges, but he didn't sound sure. He warned us to unplug everything we didn't want fried. Some people laughed at him because they didn't want to believe any of it, but he was right. 15 minutes later, bright blue flashes lit up the windows across the city. Transformers blew out one after another. You could hear the pops echoing like fireworks, but lower, angrier, more final. Then darkness rolled across the skyline like someone poured ink over the city. People started calling the police, but the lines didn't work. Some officers showed up near the block trying to calm everyone down, but even their radios were dead. They tried switching frequencies, cycling through the entire range, but only static came through. One of them told us all to stay inside. Then he ran toward another street where people were yelling about a man who collapsed. Someone said the hospitals were full because nothing electric stayed working for more than a few minutes. No monitors, no ventilators, no scanning machines. Felt unreal hearing that. The idea that a whole hospital could shut down over something invisible. I stayed in the building through the night, watching from the window as Chicago dimmed out, building after building losing light until the whole city looked like a photo negative. The only color left was the orange glow of fire somewhere far south. I thought maybe the power company would fix it by morning, or the government would step in with a statement. But morning came and the silence stayed. No emergency alerts, no news vans, no drones in the air, no planes. I realized I hadn't heard a plane since the afternoon before. You don't notice the absence until it's gone for long enough that your brain finally catches up. By late morning, people began walking past the station with backpacks, pulling kids along, heading west, probably toward the suburbs or maybe toward family. The ones who stayed in the city looked lost. I saw a man try to break into a closed pharmacy, not out of anger but desperation. He kept shouting that he needed insulin for his wife. Someone tried to stop him, but he pushed them away and threw a trash can through the window. No sirens followed. No police showed up. The only thing that broke the silence was the shattering glass and his shaky breathing as he searched the shelves inside. Around noon, one of the last functioning police cruisers rolled down the street with its lights flickering weakly. An officer with a bullhorn told people not to panic, that the government was investigating what they called a major grid event, and that more information would follow soon. I remember writing that phrase down in my notebook because it sounded too careful, too vague for something that shut down half the city. He kept repeating the same message until the cruiser sputtered and stalled. The officer tried starting it again, but it wouldn't move. After a minute, he just stepped out and walked away with his hands on his head like he couldn't believe what he just witnessed. It wasn't just Chicago. Around 4 in the afternoon yesterday, someone managed to catch a faint AM signal from Pittsburgh saying the same thing happened there. The reporter sounded like she was crying between sentences. The signal cut out after maybe 30 seconds. Someone else found a garbled message from Minneapolis about airport failures and people stuck in terminals. No planes taking off. No lights on the runway. And then nothing from anywhere else. Not New York. Not Los Angeles. Not London. Not Berlin. No one. When became clear the main studio wasn't coming back. I moved into this old booth because it's the only room with equipment that isn't tied to the digital system. Everything here is analog, built back when radio was half electricity and half luck. The knobs feel stiff, the switches spark a little when touched, and the microphone has this faint smell of metal and dust no one ever cleaned out. But it works, or somewhat works. I listened to the frequency meter for a long time before going live. I kept hoping to pick up someone else, another station sending out anything. Music, news, warnings, but all I heard was empty space. Not even static. Just a low hum like the world is breathing too slow. Last night, around 11, I left the booth to check the hallway. The whole building was dark except for this floor. I caught a glimpse of the skyline through the window again. Even more fires now. Some looked intentional, controlled. Others didn't. I saw shadows moving along the street, people carrying boxes, others running after them. I didn't hear gunshots, but the tension in the air felt like something that could snap at any second. I found Sam sitting on the stairs in the back, holding a radio scanner he rebuilt from a kit he had at home. The thing looked like it came from the 90s, but it was working better than anything else we had. He said the military frequencies were silent, not jammed, silent, like there was no one left on the other end. He said that was the worst sign of all because the military always keeps something running. Always. Even during storms, cyber attacks, drills. There's always chatter. But now, nothing. He said the only explanation he could think of was that whatever caused this hit at a scale that took down the hardened systems too. And if that's true, then we're in more trouble than anyone wants to admit. I've been trying to stay calm, but sitting here alone with nothing but the generator noise behind me and the city slowly falling apart outside, it's getting harder. I keep thinking about how fast everything changed. One moment, I'm stuck in traffic behind a food truck, and the next, the whole world feels like a dying circuit. I can't shake the feeling that we missed the signs, that something was building for weeks or months and we ignored it. People talked about satellites glitching out last month, planes rerouting because of GPS issues, a few strange outages in Europe, but everyone brushed it off as technical problems, just the usual stuff. No one believed it could lead to this, and maybe that's the worst part, the not knowing, the way every normal sound disappeared, the way the city feels like it's holding its breath. I haven't heard from any official source since the first round of failures. No one has stepped up to say what we're supposed to do. People are making their own rules. Some are helping their neighbors. Others are breaking into places just to survive. There's no structure left to hold anyone steady. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. If you're listening, you deserve the truth, or at least the closest thing I can give you. Whatever hit us wasn't just a blackout. It wasn't a storm or a hack or a power surge. Something bigger is happening. Something that's affecting everything that runs on electricity in ways no one seems to understand. The scientists aren't talking. The government isn't talking. And the military, well, they aren't talking because we can't even find their voices anymore. I keep thinking about something Sam said before he left the station early this morning. He said, if the grid falls, everything else falls with it. Food, water, medicine, heat, transport, communication, all of it. People think they can handle it for a day or two, but not for long. Then he handed me a small notebook and said I should write things down in case the broadcast cuts off permanently. It made the whole thing feel heavier, like he knew this booth wouldn't last long. As I'm talking now, the lights above me are flickering again, but the signal meter is steady. I don't know how many people can hear me, but I'm going to keep going. I have to talk about what I saw early this morning when I stepped outside to check the fuel levels in the generator. I walked to the alley behind the station, and I noticed a group of people gathered around a bus that had stopped in the middle of the road. The driver was slumped over the wheel, not moving. Someone said he collapsed while trying to restart the bus. A woman was shaking him, calling his name, but he didn't respond. Someone else tried CPR, but without power, without proper medical tools, without even a working phone to call for help, it felt hopeless. They eventually carried him to the sidewalk and covered him with a jacket. The group looked lost. Some were crying. Others just stared at the dead bus like it had taken part of their future with it. I walked back inside with this feeling in my stomach like everything is slipping through our fingers faster than we can grab it. I sat down in this chair, took a breath, and turned the mic on. That's when I realized I could either sit here afraid or try to be a voice someone can follow. I'm not a hero. I'm not a soldier or a scientist or anything like that. I'm just a guy with a voice and a working transmitter. But maybe that's enough right now. And before I lose track of time again, I should talk about what Sam said regarding the possible cause. He's not entirely sure, but he has a theory. He thinks it might be some kind of electromagnetic phenomenon that started outside the atmosphere. He mentioned something about unusual readings from a research station that detected spikes weeks ago. He didn't have the details, but he said someone he used to work with at a satellite monitoring center mentioned that the patterns weren't natural. They looked like pulses, rhythmic, almost like something repeating itself. But before they could study it properly, the data feeds started dropping. No one thought it was connected to anything big until everything went dark. He said he didn't want to jump to conclusions without proof, but he looked scared, really scared. I've never seen him like that. Now it's just after 6:48 in the morning, and the street outside is slowly waking up in the worst way. Not with cars or buses or people rushing to work, but with small groups wandering, looking for food, for answers, for someone to tell them this isn't permanent. I saw a man pull open a dumpster behind the diner across the street, searching for anything edible. He found a bag of bread that looked a few days old and clutched it like it was gold. Another person was filling bottles with water from a fire hydrant someone forced open. I don't know how long that water will stay clean. I don't know how long any of us can stay clean. All right, that's the first stretch. I'm still here. The booth is still alive. The signal is still going out. If you're out there, stay with me. It's hard to keep track of the exact time now. The analog clock above the doorway is ticking slower than it should, like the hands are dragging themselves across the numbers. But the sunlight through the window tells me it's moving toward late morning. Maybe 9, maybe later. I don't trust anything with gears or wires anymore. Not after watching half the city's machines die like they all shared the same heartbeat and someone cut it. The generator behind me is running uneven, like it's gasping for air through a clogged throat. I topped off the fuel an hour ago, but it still sounds like it's fighting against something I can't fix. The longer I sit here, the more aware I am of every strange noise. The rattling, the stuttering, the quiet dips between the engine pulses that feel like whispers of the moment everything shuts down for good. I keep glancing at the tiny red broadcast light, praying it doesn't blink out on me. If it does, I don't know what I'll lose first, my mind or the hope that talking to someone out there still matters. I walked outside again before coming back on the mic, even though I told myself I shouldn't leave the booth. I needed air, even bad air, even cold air that makes your chest tighten. Chicago doesn't look like Chicago anymore. The buildings are the same, but everything else feels wrong, empty and heavier than before. The city always had a noise to it, even at dawn, even on holidays. But today the streets sounded like winter mornings after a blizzard, when everything is buried and the world holds its breath. Except this time there's no snow, no plows, no cars, just the sound of distant footsteps and the occasional shout that echoes too long against the dead quiet. I saw a group of teenagers walking past the station. They were carrying backpacks stuffed with whatever they could grab. Mostly canned food, clothes, flashlights that probably don't even work anymore. One of them was holding a baseball bat, gripping it so tight his knuckles were white. They weren't talking to each other, not even whispering, just moving west like everyone else these past hours. I wanted to ask where they were going, but I didn't want to scare them off, and I didn't want to risk leaving the generator alone too long. So I just watched them disappear behind the corner. The strangest thing was seeing the pigeons. They were all clustered on the sidewalk, dozens of them just standing still, not pecking at the ground, not fluttering around like they usually do. They looked up at every sound, but barely moved. One of them had a damaged wing, not from a person, but like it fell from the sky. I've never seen birds fall out of the sky around here. The thought made my stomach twist in a way I don't want to sit with too long. Something bigger than us is happening, and the animals know it too. They always know first. Before I stepped back into the station, I spotted something further down the block that made me stop. A line of people, maybe 30 or 40, standing outside a small convenience store. Not looting, not breaking in, just standing, waiting, like they were holding on to the last threads of normal life, hoping someone would come unlock the doors. The lights inside the store were out, of course, but the shelves still had food they could break the glass to reach. But they didn't. They waited. I wanted to go talk to them, ask what they were hoping for, but something in their faces told me not to disturb them. Some of them were shaking. A few were crying quietly. Others were staring straight ahead like their minds were somewhere else. I felt like I was watching the last fragile layer of what kept us human holding together by a thread. When I got back inside, the hallway smelled like dust and stale air. The emergency lights along the ceiling flicked on for a second, then went off again like they were teasing the idea of working. In the break room, the vending machines were all dark, their digital displays showing nothing but dead screens. Someone had already smashed the glass and taken whatever snacks were left. I didn't blame them. Hunger changes people. Fear changes them even faster. I sat down in the booth and tried to calm myself, but it's hard to breathe steady when every breath feels like you're pulling in the weight of the whole city. The microphone in front of me has a dent on the side from years ago when someone dropped it during a live show. I remember laughing about that dent with one of the interns, joking that we should never fix it because it gave the mic character. Now I'm touching that same dent like it's a reminder of another life, a life where everything made sense. I mentioned earlier that Sam, the retired engineer, had theories about what caused this. I didn't get to finish what he said before he left this morning. After he explained the electromagnetic surges and the satellite anomalies, he said something else, something I haven't stopped thinking about since. He said he talked to a friend who worked near the Department of Energy in Washington. The friend sent him a message 2 nights ago, before everything collapsed. It was short and strange, written like someone who didn't want to say too much but wanted to say enough. The message said, "If the readings continue, we won't have time to warn the public. It's not solar. It's not atmospheric. It's coordinated." That was it. No explanation. No follow-up. Just that message. Coordinated. That word has been bouncing around in my head like a loose pinball, hitting every corner of my thoughts. Coordinated by who? Or what? I don't want to jump into conspiracies. I really don't. But if it wasn't natural, then someone or something did this on purpose. And if that's true, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew how fragile everything was. They knew that if they took out the grid, they took out the country. The whole world, maybe. But then I think about the silence. If someone attacked us, surely the government would have said something by now. Even a small message. Even a warning. But there's nothing. Not a single official broadcast. Not one. It's like the people in charge vanished at the exact same moment the power did. And maybe they did. Maybe they're dealing with their own collapse. Maybe they're gone. I don't know. I don't want to think about the possibility that no one is coming to help. While I was outside, I also saw the first signs that people are starting to get scared enough to turn on each other. On the opposite sidewalk, two men were arguing over a backpack. One claimed the other stole it. The other denied it. Their voices kept rising until one of them shoved the other into a parked car. The alarm didn't go off, of course, because nothing works anymore. The sound of the man's body hitting the metal was louder than anything else on the street. You could feel the anger like a pulse running through the block. Eventually they broke away from each other, each grabbing whatever they could and walking in opposite directions. But the moment stayed with me. That's how it starts. Little cracks in the social fabric. One argument at a time. One shove at a time. One person deciding their survival matters more than someone else's. The thing that scares me most is how fast we're falling. It's been just 2 days since the collapse began, and already people are desperate. I don't want to think about what this place will look like in a week or a month. I don't want to think about the people who need medicine, electricity, warm homes, working equipment. I don't want to think about the kids who don't understand why the world changed overnight. I feel myself drifting, losing focus. It's hard to keep my thoughts straight when everything around me feels like it's sliding off balance. I keep staring at the window, waiting for something normal to pass by. A bus, a payroll van, a family heading to breakfast. But that world is gone. Maybe not forever, but gone for now. Earlier, before going live, I wrote down a few things that people should know to stay alive. Not because I'm some survival expert, but because I've seen enough in these last 2 days to understand what matters. If you're listening, grab something to write on if you can. If not, try to remember what you can. First, water. Don't rely on taps staying clean. If your building still has a little stored pressure, fill every container you have. Buckets, bottles, pots, pans, anything. Boil water if you can, but I know most people can't without electricity. If you have a way to make fire safely, use it. If not, collect rain when it comes, but store it clean. Don't drink from rivers near the city. Not yet. They're always dirtier than people think. And hospitals aren't open if you get sick. Second, food. Don't panic buy from stores. They won't restock. Get canned goods, dried goods, anything that doesn't spoil. But take only what you need for now. People will be watching each other. Desperation turns crowds dangerous in seconds. If you have neighbors, work together. If you live alone, try not to isolate yourself completely. Lone people get targeted first, both by fear and by others. Third, heat. Nights are getting colder. If you're in an apartment, find blankets, warm clothing, and seal windows with towels or old clothes to slow the draft. If you're in a house, use one room to stay warm. Don't light fires indoors without proper ventilation. You don't want to survive the grid collapse just to die from smoke. Fourth, stay calm. Panic makes you blind. You forget things. You make mistakes. Breathe. Look at the world one move at a time. When I finished writing those notes earlier, I sat back in the chair and stared at the wall for a long time. I realized how strange it felt to be the one giving advice when I'm barely holding myself together. I'm scared. I won't lie about it. I feel it in the back of my throat all the time. Like the moment before someone tells you bad news. I don't know what comes next. I don't know how much worse it will get. But talking helps me think. Thinking helps me stay steady. And staying steady is all I can do. There's something else I should talk about, what I heard on the radio scanner last night. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a pattern, a repeating signal. Faint but there. A low tone rising and falling in slow intervals, almost like breathing. I don't know where it came from. Sam heard it too before he left. He said it wasn't normal. He said it felt intentional, like someone was sending out pulses instead of words. The pattern was too even to be random, but it didn't match any known frequency markers used by emergency systems. It ran underneath the noise, like a whisper sitting behind the static. Around 3 in the morning, the signal got louder. Not much louder, but enough that I could tell it wasn't coming from inside the city. It had distance, a lot of distance, maybe hundreds of miles, maybe more. I kept listening, waiting for it to shift or break or reveal something, but it stayed the same, up and down, slow, steady, patient. I don't know what it means, but I can't shake the feeling that it wasn't meant for us. Or maybe it was, and we just don't understand it yet. I should drink some water. My throat feels dry from talking nonstop, but the bottle next to me is already half empty and I don't want to leave the booth again. I don't trust being away from the generator for more than a minute or two. The broadcast is too fragile. Everything is fragile. Even me. I'm thinking back to something my dad told me when I was a kid. He said cities look strong, but they're actually built on thin threads. He said all it takes is one thread snapping, then another, and the whole thing unravels. I didn't get it back then. I thought cities were permanent. Concrete, steel, endless people. But now I get it. The threads were electricity, communication, trust, routine. All snapped in a single day. And the unraveling hasn't stopped. A few minutes ago, I heard footsteps outside the studio door. Slow ones. Not running. Not panicked. Just walking. I froze. I didn't breathe for a second. I waited to hear if they would knock or try to open the door. They didn't. They just stood there. I could hear breathing. Soft, shallow breathing. Then after maybe a minute, they walked away. I don't know who it was. Maybe someone from another floor. Maybe someone looking for supplies. Maybe someone listening from the hallway. The idea of someone listening from the dark makes my skin crawl, but I can't lock the door. I need to be able to get to the generator quickly if something happens. I just hope whoever it was keeps moving. I keep telling myself the sun will help, that daylight will calm people down, but I'm not sure anymore. The morning light made everything look worse. The damage, the broken windows, the burned patches on the street where transformers exploded, the empty buses blocking intersections, the knocked over traffic signs, the stray animals wandering with no direction. The city looks abandoned even though thousands of people are still here. It's like the soul of the place left overnight. I don't know how long I've been speaking now. Maybe an hour. Maybe 2. Time stretches weird when you're scared. The clock says it's almost 10, but I don't believe it. I don't believe anything that runs on gears or wires anymore. I should keep talking about what matters, about what people can do, about what we should expect, about what comes next, because something is coming next. I can feel it. It's like the air is holding on to a secret, a heavy one, and I don't think we're ready. I wish I could say things feel more stable than before, but the truth is every hour feels like the ground shifts a little more under me. I don't mean earthquakes or anything like that. I mean the kind of shifting you feel when something familiar turns strange and every instinct you've ever had is trying to warn you but can't find the right words. I've been sitting in this booth, staring at the soundboard, waiting for any hint that the world is trying to correct itself. But nothing corrects itself anymore. Everything just keeps slipping. The humming from the generator, this ugly, uneven rumble, has become the only thing that sounds alive in this whole building. And even that feels like a dying heartbeat, beating only because the body hasn't figured out it's gone yet. I keep thinking about the last normal day I had. It's strange how the mind grabs onto things like that when the world starts to fall apart. I was annoyed because I spilled coffee on my shirt before a staff meeting. The biggest thing I worried about was whether I'd embarrass myself walking in with a stain. Now I'd give anything to have a day where spilled coffee was a problem. But that day feels like it happened years ago instead of 3 days. I don't even know if it matters to think about the past anymore. The future feels too heavy, and the present is this fragile thing that could crack open at any moment. When I stepped outside again, I shouldn't keep doing that, but my head gets too tangled in here. I noticed how quiet the sky is. No planes, no helicopters, no distant hum of jets from O'Hare. You forget how much noise air travel makes until it disappears completely. Now when I look up, it feels like someone wiped the sky clean. It's this flat, empty blue with no movement, no trails, no signs of life. A few days ago, I saw a weather balloon drifting over the lake, part of a monitoring project they do every now and then. But even those seem gone now. I used to complain about the sound of planes when I tried to nap during the afternoon. Funny how silence can be so much worse. There was a man yelling in the distance earlier, somewhere near the laundromat down the block. I couldn't see what was happening, but I could hear him shouting about someone stealing his last bit of food. His voice sounded torn, raw, like he'd been shouting for hours. Nobody went to help him. Not because people didn't care, but because nobody wants to be dragged into a fight they can't win. That's what it's coming to now. People retreating into themselves, shielding what little they have left. I stayed in the doorway, listening until his voice faded. I didn't see anyone run by holding food, so maybe it ended peacefully. Or maybe it didn't. You learn fast not to chase answers out there. On my way back to the booth, I passed by the station's lobby and noticed something that made my skin go cold. The security monitor, one of the only analog screens we still have, was flickering between two views. One showed the empty front door. The other showed the stairwell. But the stairwell feed had this strange static crawling along the edges, like something was interfering with it. Not normal static. It moved in slow waves like a pulse. I tapped the screen, but it didn't change. Then, for a second, I thought I saw a shape move on the landing. Just a shadow. Maybe a person. Maybe a trick of the failing screen. Either way, it was enough to make me walk faster. I locked eyes with my own reflection in the hallway window before coming back in. I looked exhausted, pale, sunken. Not because I haven't slept, though I barely have. Something deeper than that. Something that happens when you've seen too much and you're trying to understand a world that doesn't follow the rules anymore. My voice still works, at least. I'm holding on to that like it's the last solid thing I have. I should talk more about the signal, the one I mentioned earlier, because I heard it again, stronger this time. When I turned the scanner on about an hour ago, the pattern came back. Only now it had something new beneath it. A faint click between the rises, almost like the signal was adjusting itself. I leaned closer, trying to make sense of it, and for a moment I thought it might be a message. Not words, but something like a coded sequence. I don't know why it felt that way. Maybe it's just my mind trying to make sense of noise. But Sam said similar things before he left, that the pattern didn't feel random. Felt directed. I recorded a few seconds of it on a tape deck, the only way I can save anything now, but listening back didn't help. If anything, it made it creepier. The way it repeats, the way it pulses, the way it sits on the edge of hearing like it's aware of being listened to. There's a weight to it I can't explain. This isn't how emergency systems work. Those signals are sharp and clear, designed to cut through chaos. This is slow, methodical, almost calm. Too calm. I don't know if it's human-made. I don't know if it's even meant for us. But if there's something out there sending it, something with power still working, then they're either unaffected by whatever killed our grid, or they're the ones who caused it. I keep hoping I'm wrong. I want this to be a natural phenomenon, something the sun did, something caused by atmospheric interference, something explainable. But every time I list the facts in my head, none of the natural explanations fit. The simultaneous failures across states, The collapse of satellites. The blackout of military channels. The tone pattern with no signature. The precision of the shutdowns. It feels too clean to be an accident. Too organized to be chaos. Maybe someone somewhere knows more. Maybe the silence from the government isn't because they disappeared, but because they're trapped or hiding or trying to stop something. But if that's true, they're failing. Badly. The streets outside are starting to fill again. Not crowds, but small clusters. Some people are carrying blankets, water jugs, anything they can strap to carts or strollers. Others look like they just woke up from shock. I saw a couple holding hands, walking slowly, the woman leaning on the man like she could barely stand. They looked at the city like it was a stranger they used to trust. A little further down, a store owner was dragging a metal shelf against his door, trying to block the entrance. He kept glancing over his shoulder like someone might run up and push him aside. When he finally secured it, he sat down on the curb and stared at nothing. I almost walked over to talk to him, but something told me he needed the silence more than anything else. The moment you interrupt someone trying to hold themselves together, they fall apart faster. People have started lighting small fires in metal bins for warmth. I can see one from the booth window a few blocks away. The flames are tiny but bright, flickering in the shadow of tall buildings that don't have power anymore. A group is sitting around it, not close together but close enough to feel like they're not alone. Nobody's talking. They're just watching the fire like it's the last comforting thing left. I heard rumors, whispers really, from people walking past earlier. They said some neighborhoods have already turned violent. That some stores were cleaned out within hours. That one of the bridges was blocked by people who don't want anyone crossing it. I don't know if those are true. Maybe they are. Maybe they're the start of something worse. Fear spreads faster than truth, especially now. And fear makes people do things they never thought they were capable of. I haven't seen any official vehicles all morning. No police cars. No fire trucks. No ambulances. Not even the National Guard. If they're out there, they're not near here. The streets look unmanaged, abandoned, left for the people to figure out themselves. For the first time, I'm starting to believe no one is coming with help. Not soon. Maybe not ever. There's something I haven't talked about yet. Something I haven't wanted to talk about. But I think I should now because it's part of what's making my head feel heavier every hour. Last night, when I was adjusting the antenna cable outside the booth, I heard a sound in the vents. Not voices, not animals. It was like a low rumble mixed with scraping, like metal shifting on metal. It lasted maybe 10 seconds, then stopped. At first I thought it was just the ventilation system failing, but the building doesn't have anything running there anymore. So I waited, listening. After a long pause, I heard it again, softer this time, like something moving deeper inside the ducts. I checked around the booth to see if anything looked disturbed. Nothing. No loose panels. No fallen screws. But the sound, I don't know. I don't want to say it was footsteps because that sounds insane, but it had rhythm. A heavy rhythm. I didn't tell Sam about it because he was already stressed enough. And I've been trying to tell myself it was just the metal contracting from the temperature shift. But something in me doesn't buy that. Buildings make noises, sure, but not like that. Not in slow, deliberate patterns. Not in a building with no power running. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe the place is just old and falling apart like everything else. But I can't shake the feeling that something was moving near the ventilation shaft. And the idea of something moving in the dark, inside the walls, in a place nobody should be, I don't know what to do with that thought. I'm rubbing my eyes too much. They burn. I keep losing focus, drifting between memories and fear and whatever this moment is. I wish I had someone in the booth with me, someone to ground me. But maybe it's better that I'm alone. If something does come through that door or through the vents or through the silence outside, at least only one of us has to face it. I should get back to something helpful, something people can use. Advice, maybe, or some kind of direction. The problem is that direction doesn't exist anymore. Everyone's doing what they think is right. Everyone's trying to survive. But I'll keep trying. If you're in Chicago or anywhere near here, and you still have access to supplies, share them if you can. Not with everyone. Not recklessly, but with people you trust. People who are trying to stay calm. People who aren't turning to violence. The only thing that might keep us steady is the small communities we build around us. Even simple things matter now. A shared meal. A shared story. A shared fire. If you're alone, try to find someone. Even one person. The world feels bigger and darker when you're by yourself. Fear grows faster in silence. Two people can keep each other grounded. Two people can keep watch. Two people can hold each other accountable when panic tries to take over. If you're thinking about leaving the city, be careful. Roads are blocked with dead vehicles. Highways might be worse. Some people are abandoning their cars in the middle of lanes, grabbing what they can carry. Walking long distances might be dangerous without supplies. If you go, plan. Bring water, layers of clothing, something sharp enough to defend yourself if you have no other choice. But don't go blindly. Wandering without a plan is a fast way to disappear. I keep wiping the sweat from my palms. My hands won't stop shaking. I'm trying to breathe slow, but every time I inhale it feels like the air is getting thicker. Maybe it's just nerves. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's the pressure of talking to a world that might not even hear me. A minute ago, the generator hiccuped. This loud cough that made the lights dim. My heart jumped into my throat. I actually stood up out of the chair, ready to sprint to the back room. But the engine steadied again. The lights flickered back. The broadcast stayed on. I sat down slowly, like I wasn't sure the chair would hold me anymore. How long until the generator quits for real? How long until I'm speaking into a dead mic, talking to no one, trapped in darkness? I don't want to think about that. I need to stay in the present. I need to keep this voice going for as long as I can. Because if I stop talking, the silence will swallow me. I know it will. I keep wondering if there are pockets of people out there listening. Maybe small groups around radios, holding blankets near fires, hearing this voice and feeling a little less alone. The thought keeps me steady. The thought keeps me talking. Something else happened earlier, a small thing, but it stuck with me. A little girl walked by the station holding a stuffed animal. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. Her mother was holding her other hand, pulling her along quickly, but the girl kept turning her head toward the buildings like she was looking for something familiar. When they reached the intersection, she stopped and stared at the traffic lights. Dead, dark, hanging useless. She tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked why the lights wouldn't wake up. I couldn't hear the mother's response, but I could see the way she bent down, trying to keep her daughter calm despite her own fear. The girl clutched her stuffed animal tighter. Then they walked away. That image keeps coming back to me. The innocence, the confusion, the way kids trust the world to make sense, even when it doesn't. I hope they find a safe place. I hope they find warmth. I hope the mother can keep holding it together. I should talk about something else Sam told me before he left. He said we underestimate how quickly infrastructure collapses when the grid goes down. He said everything depends on electricity more than people realize. Water treatment, pump stations, traffic control, food distribution, medicine refrigeration, communications, banking, heating, all of it. He said the grid is like the spine of the whole country. It holds everything upright. And when the spine snaps, the body falls no matter how strong the muscles are. That's what we're seeing now. The falling. Slowly at first, then faster. Soon it might be free fall. I don't know what caused all this. Not yet. But whatever it was, it hit everything too efficiently. Too perfectly. Like someone or something mapped out every weak point and hit them all at once. It doesn't feel like nature. It feels like intent. But I don't want to slip into fear that I can't pull back from. Not yet. Not while I still have this mic. Not while I still have a few more hours of generator fuel. Not while there might still be people out there listening. I'm trying to breathe slower, but my chest feels tight. My heartbeat is too loud in my ears. I think I need to drink another sip of water. My throat feels like sandpaper. My mouth is dry like I've been in the sun all day even though I've barely stepped outside. Stress does that. Fear does that. I keep thinking about what happens if the generator stops. The booth will go completely dark. Not just dim dark. The kind of dark where you can't see your own hands. The windows won't help because they're covered with old soundproof padding. The hallway outside has no natural light. If the generator dies at night, I won't see anything. Not even the door. I should probably find a flashlight, but I don't know where any are. And even if I find one, the batteries might be dead. Everything battery-powered seems to be draining faster since the collapse. I don't know if that's my imagination or something else. The building creaked a minute ago. A long, low groan from the upper floors. Buildings settle, I know that. But this felt different. Heavier. Like something shifted with purpose. I'm trying not to let my imagination run wild. But the silence makes even normal sounds feel wrong. I don't know what's happening upstairs. I don't want to check. I don't want to leave the booth again. The hallway feels darker than before, and I don't trust what I can't see. I'll stay here until I need to refill the generator. Then I'll move fast and come right back. I keep telling myself someone will show up. Police, emergency workers, National Guard, anyone. But hour after hour passes and nothing changes. Nobody official is coming down this street. Nobody is knocking on the doors. Nobody is trying to restore order. It's like the people who kept the city running are gone or overwhelmed or cut off from everything they need to function. The sun is higher now. I can see light hitting the tops of buildings, but down here the streets still feel shadowed. Everything tall is casting longer shadows than usual. It makes the city look like it's trying to hide something, or like something is hiding in the spaces between buildings. I can't believe I'm thinking like this. I used to be rational, logical, practical. I used to laugh at people who talked about fear like it was alive. But now fear feels like a presence in the room with me. Not a ghost or anything like that. Just the heavy feeling that something is watching, waiting, listening. I need to stay grounded. I need to keep talking. I need to keep people steady. Even if there's only one person listening, that's enough. I should end this part soon so I can breathe for a moment and check the generator again. But before I do, I want to say something simple. Something human. If you're listening right now, if you're sitting alone or with a small group or huddled near a fire or holding on to whatever hope you can find, I want you to know this. You're still here. You're still breathing. You're still fighting against the dark. And so am I. This voice will stay on as long as I can keep it alive. I don't know how long I've been sitting here today. It feels like time is stretching itself into something unrecognizable. Like it's melting and pooling in the corners of this room. I keep glancing at the analog clock even though I know it's wrong. The second hand moves, but it doesn't move right. It jerks unevenly, pausing for too long, then skipping ahead as if it's trying to catch up. I don't trust it anymore. Maybe it's just another piece of equipment dying slowly. Maybe everything mechanical is going the same way. Maybe the whole world is sliding into a kind of slow suffocation. Machines dying first, then the systems, then the people. Before starting this part of the broadcast, I stepped outside for just a few minutes to stretch my legs. I didn't want to go far, just to the sidewalk and back. The air was colder than earlier, sharper, almost chemical on the inhale. The smell in the wind is changing. I don't know if it's from fires burning across different parts of the city or something worse, but it's there. Something metallic, mixed with something sharp and burnt. I caught it the moment I stepped through the door. As I walked down the steps, I noticed more smoke rising from the south side. Not dark, thick smoke like a building fire, but gray, thin columns, drifting and breaking in the wind. Smaller fires, controlled ones, possibly. People burning debris, paper, scraps, maybe even garbage just to stay warm. Those small fires are spreading. You can see one every couple of blocks now. Little flickers, little signs of people trying to hang on. But they also make the city look wounded, like small cuts all bleeding at once. While I was outside, I heard something far away. Distant shouting, maybe from the next street over. Not panic this time, more like anger. Voices rising and falling, sharp tones. I couldn't see who was yelling, but I felt the tension in the air shift. I don't think that's the last time we'll hear that kind of sound. As desperation grows, anger grows too. Hunger is already moving through the city like a shadow. It's only been a couple of days. Most people have food in their homes, but as fridges lose their cold, food spoils faster. Freezers thaw, milk spoils, meat goes bad. People start rationing, and when rationing fails, they start fighting. I didn't want to stay outside too long. There's something about being out on the street now that makes your nerves tighten. Every shadow looks longer than it should. Every sound feels sharper. Every empty doorway feels like it's hiding something. People aren't walking with confidence anymore. They move like they expect the world to collapse beneath their feet with every step. When I walked back inside, I noticed the stairwell light. One of the only working bulbs left was completely dead. It flickered earlier, but now it's out. Just gone. The hallway was darker than I expected, and for a second, I thought I heard movement from the upper floors again. Something light, something shifting, maybe just settling noises from the building. Old wood, weak metal, but I swear it felt like footsteps, soft but steady. I didn't want to check. I told myself it was just the building adjusting as temperatures changed. But that explanation is starting to wear thin. I've been thinking a lot about the word Sam used, coordinated. Keeps coming back to me, slipping in and out of every thought like a thread that won't stop wrapping itself around my mind. Coordinated, intentional, something designed to knock out infrastructure without touching anything else. Something that doesn't leave scorch marks or debris or signs of explosions. Something that targets the invisible veins of society, the electric lines, the communication networks, the satellites overhead. And if it was coordinated, what does that mean? Coordinated by who? Coordinated from where? If another country attacked, wouldn't they follow up with something else? Wouldn't they announce something? Wouldn't they move in? But there's no movement, no troops, no announcements, nothing but silence. It doesn't feel like a human attack. Humans always want to claim responsibility, even if only to spread fear. This feels like something else entirely. I keep thinking about the signal, the pulsing pattern that won't leave my mind. When I listened to it earlier, it almost felt steadying. That's what scares me most. It's not chaotic like interference. It's calm, slow, like it's breathing, like it's waiting. I played the recording again before turning the mic back on, and I swear it sounded slightly different. Not in pitch, not in strength, in rhythm, just a tiny shift, like the pauses between pulses were shorter by a fraction of a second. I probably shouldn't read into that, but it's hard not to when everything else is falling apart. The city feels like it's holding its breath again. The morning had movement, people searching, wandering, shouting. But now it's like everything has slowed. I can hear the wind pushing against the boarded-up windows down the block. The rustling of something lightweight hitting the pavement. Papers, maybe. Flyers. Debris. I can hear a fire crackling somewhere far away. And beneath all that, I can hear the emptiness. Silence has a weight now. Silence has a texture. Silence feels like a presence walking alongside the rest of us. There's something I saw from the window earlier that I haven't talked about yet. I'm not sure I want to, but I think I should. When I was looking down toward the intersection, I saw a man standing in the middle of the road, not walking, not moving, just standing still, staring up at the buildings like he was waiting for something. His clothes were dirty, like he had fallen at some point or slept outside. His head tilted slightly to one side, like he was listening. I watched him for a few minutes, trying to understand what he was doing. Then he slowly turned and walked away, disappearing between two abandoned cars. I don't know why it unsettled me so much, but there was something strange about his stillness, like he knew something the rest of us don't. People are reacting differently to this collapse. Some are breaking, some are adapting, some are freezing, and some, I don't know, some feel like they're slipping into something else, a different state of mind, a different reality, like they're disconnecting from the world before it disconnects from them. I went back to my notes, the ones I wrote earlier about survival. I added more to them because every hour teaches me something new. If you're listening, you should know this. Avoid large groups when tempers flare. Crowds become unpredictable fast. Stick to small clusters of people who move with purpose. And pay attention to anyone carrying too much anger. People radiating anger have a way of dragging trouble behind them, even when they don't mean to. Fear fuels anger, and anger fuels violence, and violence spreads like fire in dry grass. Also, don't waste energy. Don't walk aimlessly. Every calorie counts now. Every sip of water. Every spare ounce of strength. If you have a chance to rest, take it. If you have a chance to stay safe indoors, stay there. Don't open doors for strangers unless you absolutely must. I hate saying that because it goes against everything I believe about helping people, but we're not living in the world we had 3 days ago. Trust is dangerous now. Trust is a luxury. I need to talk about what I heard from the few people passing by earlier. They said certain neighborhoods, places I won't name yet, have already blocked off streets with makeshift barricades. Aggressive ones. People putting up metal sheets, wooden planks, scrap furniture, anything they can, telling others to turn back. It's starting. The splitting. The dividing. People forming tribal lines. People choosing sides based on nothing but fear and location. The moment communication dies, unity dies with it. Without information, people invent their own truths, their own versions of reality, their own enemies. I saw a woman carrying a crate full of bottled water. She struggled with the weight, stopping every few steps to adjust her grip. Nobody helped her, not because they didn't care. They were afraid to approach her, afraid that helping might be seen as weakness or might attract someone who wants what she has. This collapse is reshaping people so quickly it's terrifying. There was also a sound earlier, something deep, not an explosion, more like a distant rumble, too steady to be thunder. It came from the direction of the river. I don't know what it was. Machinery failing? A building collapsing? Water pressure releasing? It lasted about 10 seconds, then stopped. I waited for a follow-up noise, but nothing. The quiet afterward was worse than the sound itself. Silence after a strange noise is always worse. It leaves you imagining what happened instead of knowing. I need to stay focused. I keep drifting. My mind keeps trying to run ahead of me. I keep hearing the words coordinated event in the back of my head. The Department of Energy message, the military silence, the repeating signal, the birds behaving strangely, people collapsing, the grid dying all at once. It's all pieces of something I can't see clearly yet. Earlier, when I checked the mailroom downstairs, hoping to find a working flashlight, I saw envelopes scattered across the floor. Probably fell when someone opened the cabinet. Seeing all that mail made my chest tighten. Letters from another time, bills, advertisements, someone's handwritten note sent days before the world broke. All frozen in place with no one left to read them. A slice of before life sitting useless in the middle of afterlife. I found an old manual flashlight, the kind you shake to charge. It barely works, but it's better than nothing. I keep it next to me now. I don't want to be caught in the dark in this building. The dark feels thicker here, like something waits inside it. I don't know why the air feels heavier when the lights go out, but it does. It's like darkness has its own temperature. Someone knocked on the front door earlier. Just once. A single knock. Not loud. Not desperate. Just a knock. I froze. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I watched the security camera, but the image was too static-filled to make out anything. After a minute, whoever it was walked away. I don't know if they wanted help. I don't know if they wanted trouble. I don't know if they were even real or if the camera glitch made me see something that wasn't there. But the knock was real. I heard it clear as day. People are starting to behave unpredictably. And that unpredictability is more dangerous than anything else right now. I need to talk about one more thing before I stop this part. Something I haven't said out loud yet. Something that's been building inside me all morning. I don't think this collapse is temporary. I don't think the power is coming back today. Or tomorrow. Or maybe even this week. Something this large, this coordinated, this devastating. It takes time to undo. If it can be undone at all. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. It doesn't mean we stop holding on. It doesn't mean we let fear swallow us whole. The world feels broken right now, but broken things can still be rebuilt. Not quickly, not easily, but piece by piece. You're still here. I'm still here. As long as I can push my voice into the dark, I will. I'm back in the chair again, trying to settle the shaking in my hands. I don't know if it's from the cold creeping in or from nerves that won't calm down. The generator is still holding, but the sound it's making is worse than before. Like something grinding, something wearing out. Every time it stutters, my whole body tenses. I'm afraid of that moment when it finally gives up and I'm left in complete darkness. This booth isn't big. When the lights die, it will feel even smaller, like the walls are leaning in. I keep staring at the cables, hoping they stay steady. I keep touching the metal edge of the desk, grounding myself. I keep talking because the second I stop, my thoughts jump to places I don't want them to go. A few minutes ago, I walked down the hall to check if the stairwell had any light left. Didn't. The entire stairwell is pitch black now, except for the faint glow coming from the outside windows near the ground floor. The darkness inside the building feels heavier than the darkness outside. When I reached the landing, I stopped because I heard something again. Soft movement, something brushing against metal or dragging lightly along the floor. Not fast, not frantic, slow. I stood there holding my breath, waiting to hear it again. But the sound stopped the moment I tried to focus. I hate that kind of silence, the kind that feels like it's listening back. I didn't go any further down. I didn't want to risk being away from the booth too long. When I turned to walk back, my footsteps echoed louder than usual, bouncing off the walls like someone walking behind me. I forced myself not to look over my shoulder until I reached the booth door. When I finally did, the hallway behind me was empty, or at least it looked empty. My eyes are tired. I don't trust what I see the way I used to. I've been thinking a lot about survival, about what the next few days will look like for anyone still listening. I'm not pretending to be some expert. I'm figuring this out the same way everyone else is, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. But there are things I've seen, things I've pieced together, things people need to know before they take their next steps. If you're near a grocery store or pharmacy, don't wait too long to make a supply run. I know it's dangerous out there. I know people are acting strange. But once hunger sets in across the city, those places will turn into battlegrounds. It's not greed, it's survival. And when survival instincts take over, people become unpredictable. If you go out, go during daylight. Avoid crowds. Move with purpose. Don't linger. Take what you need and leave fast. And if you're with others, don't split up, even for a minute. Moments are enough for things to go wrong. If you have a way to purify water, use it. If you don't, you'll need to find one soon. I heard someone earlier talking about how the sewer lines might back up if the treatment plants fail completely. If that happens, water sources near residential areas could get contaminated. I don't want to scare people unnecessarily, but fear is already here. Better to face it with information than guesswork. Food will become a problem faster than most expect. Not because the stores are empty yet, but because without cold storage, everything perishable dies fast. A lot of food will spoil by tonight or tomorrow. People will realize it at the same time. That's when panic grows teeth. If you have dry goods, ration them. If you have something fresh that won't last long, eat that first. If you can cook food safely outdoors, do it before the nights get colder. But stay hidden. Fire draws attention now, and attention isn't always a good thing. I can't stop thinking about the families out there. Parents with kids who don't understand why their tablets stopped working, why their nightlights don't turn on, why the world feels scary and unfamiliar. I saw 2 kids this morning, maybe 7 or 8, standing on the sidewalk while their father tried to break a piece of wood to board up a window. The boy was holding a flashlight that didn't work. He kept pressing the button, expecting it to come alive. The girl kept asking when the TV would turn back on. The father didn't answer. He just kept struggling with the wood, his hands shaking, his eyes darting around like he was trying to stay calm for them, even though he was falling apart inside. Things like that hit harder than anything else. Adults can bend under pressure, but kids don't understand bending. They only understand breaking, and parents know that. You can see it in their faces, the way they're trying to hold themselves together just long enough to get their kids somewhere safe, even if they don't know where safe is anymore. I don't know why, but while I was outside earlier, I found myself staring at the horizon for a long time. The buildings looked like skeletons, dark, lifeless silhouettes against the pale sky. No blinking lights from offices, no illuminated signs, no traffic signals glowing red or green. Nothing. Just still shapes blocking the sun. The longer I stared, the more I felt like the city was staring back, like it was aware of its own emptiness. I know that sounds strange, but the silence does things to you. Something I need to say because pretending otherwise would be lying. I'm scared. I'm more scared now than I was yesterday. Yesterday felt chaotic, but it was the kind of chaos you can rationalize. Today feels wrong in ways I can't articulate. The air feels heavy. The silence feels intentional. The shadows feel longer. And this feeling inside me, this instinct, keeps whispering that the worst hasn't happened yet. I've been thinking a lot about what Sam said about the satellite anomalies. Those rhythmic pulses. The readings that didn't match anything known. If those pulses were connected to this collapse, then whatever hit us wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't an accident. It was something that built, slow and steady, until everything came crashing down at once. When I think about that, my chest tightens. If something had that level of precision, what else could it be capable of? What else could happen next? Is the collapse still happening? Is the event still ongoing? Are those pulses still active somewhere beyond our reach? Is something else coming? As I'm talking right now, I can hear the sound of distant metal clanging. Not loud, just periodic, like someone hitting a pipe gently, or something shifting against metal. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe another building, maybe the wind, maybe something natural. But every sound feels threatening now, even simple ones. A group walked by the station earlier, 4 people carrying blankets, food in a laundry basket, and a crowbar. They weren't acting violent. They looked scared. They kept looking behind them, like someone was following them. They moved quickly, too quickly, like they were trying to outrun something. I almost called out to them, but I stopped myself. If they were running from something, calling out could put me in danger too. And if they weren't running from anything real, talking to me might have put them on edge. Everyone's nerves are stretched thin. Even kindness can be misread now. The world feels like it's dividing into 2 types of people, those who freeze and those who move. The ones who freeze are standing still in their fear, waiting for something or someone to tell them what to do. The ones who move are relying on instinct, pushing forward even when they don't know where they're going. I don't know which one I am. I'm stuck in this booth because it's the only place I have power and the only place I can speak. So maybe I'm frozen in my own way. Frozen behind a microphone that keeps me alive just long enough to stay sane. But I can't leave. Not yet. Not while my voice can do something. Even if it's just filling the silence for someone out there. The temperature in the booth feels colder now. My breath isn't visible, but the air has that same bite. I pulled an old jacket from the coat rack earlier. A station jacket with the logo peeling off. Smells like dust and old leather, but it helps. I don't know how cold it will get tonight, but if the generator dies, it'll get colder fast. I need to prepare for that. I don't know if anyone is taking shelter in this building besides me. I've heard movement, but I haven't seen anyone. That uncertainty is worse than knowing. There could be someone sleeping on one of the upper floors, or there could be nobody at all and the building is just settling. But part of me feels like someone is here. Someone quiet. Someone staying out of sight. Maybe they heard the broadcast. Maybe they're scared to approach. Maybe they're waiting. If you're listening and you're near this area, I don't know if I can tell you to come here. I don't know if it's safe enough to invite anyone. I don't want to put you at risk. And I don't want to put myself at risk either. Trust is thin. The wrong knock on the door could be the last one. But if you're alone and freezing, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I should talk about something practical, something useful, something that might help people get through another night. If you have candles, use them sparingly. A single candle can warm a small space if you trap the heat. But be careful. Fires start easily when people are tired. If you have a bike with a dynamo, you can use it to charge small devices, but don't expect it to work the way it used to. Some electronics are failing no matter how much charge they get. If you have solar lights or garden lamps, bring them inside during the day and use them at night. They might not hold much power now, but a little is better than nothing. If you're near others, talk quietly. Loud voices draw attention. Keep your space organized. In a crisis, the smallest mistake multiplies into a disaster. Don't leave important things scattered. Keep your water covered. Keep your food sealed. Keep your shoes close in case you need to move fast. This is turning into a different world. One where being careful isn't a suggestion, it's survival. I don't know how long I've been speaking in this part. My voice feels rough. My throat hurts. But stopping feels wrong. Stopping feels like handing the silence too much power. Silence is the enemy now. Silence is where fear breeds. I can't tell where the day is heading. The sky outside is a dull, pale color that doesn't look like any normal late morning sky. It's almost washed out, like the sun is shining through a thin layer of dust. Maybe fires. Maybe something else in the air. I don't know, but the sunlight feels weak, thin, as if whatever is happening to the grid might be affecting the atmosphere too. That's probably just my imagination, but imagination is dangerous when everything feels possible. I should wrap this part before the generator hiccups again. The struggling. I can hear it groaning every few minutes. I need to check the fuel level soon and make sure nothing is leaking. If the power cuts suddenly, I'll have to get to the flashlight fast. If you're listening, breathe slow. Breathe steady. Hold on to whatever warmth you can find. And remember this, you're not facing this night alone. Not while my voice still reaches you. I'm here, still speaking into the dark, still holding on. I'm going to try to speak clearly even though my body feels like it's running on fumes now. My hands aren't shaking as hard as before, but that's only because they're numb. I can see my breath now when I exhale, faint but visible, which means the temperature in this booth has dropped even more in the last hour. The generator is losing heat. It used to give off the steady warmth you could feel if you stood near the vent, but now it's barely warm at all. That worries me more than I want to admit. Machines don't get colder unless something inside is failing. The sounds in the building have changed. Earlier, everything was creaking and settling like an old wooden ship in a frozen harbor. Now it's quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like someone else is holding their breath with you. I keep listening for the movement I heard in the stairwell earlier, but it hasn't come back. I'm not relieved. I'm more nervous now that the noise stopped. Sometimes stillness is worse than chaos. I took a slow walk through the hallway before returning to the mic, even though every instinct in me said to stay put. I don't know why I did it. Maybe my mind was looking for proof that I'm not imagining all these sounds and shadows. Maybe I just needed to feel the walls around me and remind myself that I'm still part of something physical. The hallway lights are completely dead now. Not even a flicker. The only illumination came from a crack in the window blinds where sunlight pushed through in a thin, pale line. The dust in the air was floating through that beam like tiny ash particles suspended in water. It made the hallway look underwater. Slow. Frozen. When I reached the end of the hall, I heard something downstairs. The faint sound of wood hitting tile. Not a heavy sound. Not violent. More like something being placed gently on the ground. I almost called out, but my voice stuck in my throat. I backed away slowly, not wanting whatever made that sound to hear me. When you're scared in a quiet building, every step feels too loud. Every breath feels like you're announcing your location. I made it back to the booth without looking behind me. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to risk it. Fear makes your imagination fill in the blanks with things worse than reality. But sometimes instinct warns you before your eyes do. I locked the booth door this time. I know I said earlier that I needed to keep it open in case the generator died. But leaving it unlocked feels too dangerous now. If I have to rush to the generator later, I'll deal with the lock then. I need to talk about what I saw outside the window earlier. Something I've been trying to push out of my head because it changes everything. The group of fires across the city has grown. Not just small bin fires now. Larger ones. Controlled ones. People are burning piles of debris on street corners, probably to keep warm or to clear space. The smoke rising from them is thicker. Some of the buildings far south look like they've been abandoned entirely. Their windows smashed, their doors broken. Their insides dark like hollow teeth in a broken jaw. But that's not the part that got to me. It was the sky. There's a haze forming. Not clouds. Something finer. Thinner. A kind of dust or mist drifting from south to north. Moving slow like falling powder. The sunlight hitting it makes it shimmer just slightly. Almost like glitter suspended in the air. At first I thought it was smoke. but smoke doesn't move evenly across the entire skyline. And this haze doesn't drift upward. It hangs sideways, stretching across the rooftops. It reminds me of the time I saw volcanic ash drifting through the sky in a documentary. But this isn't ash. There's no volcano here, no eruption, and the color is wrong. It's paler, almost white. I inhaled a small bit of it earlier when I stepped outside for just a moment, and it tasted like metal on the back of my tongue. I don't know what it means, but I know it isn't natural. Not for Chicago. Not for anywhere near here. I need to talk about the signal again. The repeating pattern. The one I've been hearing for 2 days. Came back stronger about 20 minutes ago. Stronger and clearer. The rhythm changed again. The pulses shorten more, like whatever is generating them is adjusting itself. Like it's responding to something. The tone is still low, still steady, still unsettling in that calm way. But there's something beneath it now, an undercurrent. A faint rising hum that fades in and out every few pulses. It's not random. It's not malfunction. It's too structured, too precise. I recorded a few more minutes on the tape deck and listened back. The moment I played it, my chest tightened. The hum beneath the pulses almost sounds like something trying to speak without words. I don't mean voices, not human, but rhythmic intention, patterned intention. If someone heard this without context, they'd probably think it was just interference. But after everything we've seen, the grid collapse, the satellite failures, the synchronized shutdowns, it feels like part of the same system. The same cause. The same event. Sam called it coordinated. I didn't want to believe that at first. But now it feels obvious. Whatever happened to the grid wasn't one large pulse. It was many. Timed. Sequenced. Focused. And this signal, the one repeating now, feels like the leftover echo of whatever caused the collapse in the first place. There are things I didn't say in earlier broadcasts, things Sam hinted at before he left. He said there were whispers in old engineering circles, private channels between scientists and analysts, about something unusual moving past the outer magnetosphere weeks before the collapse. Not a meteor, not a satellite, not debris. Something that didn't reflect like normal matter. Something that didn't behave like anything they had seen. Came and went, leaving behind faint fluctuations in sensor data. People dismissed it because it didn't trigger any alarms. But the data stayed in the logs. Strange pulses, repeating spikes, a signature that didn't match solar storms, didn't match cosmic rays, didn't match anything natural. Sam said, if it wasn't natural, then someone or something sent it. I laughed when he said that. I shouldn't have. Now, the signal coming through the scanner feels like a continuation of those spikes. A refined version. Cleaner. Controlled. But here's the part that keeps making my hands shake. The pulses don't sound like they're being broadcast from here. They sound distant. Very distant. Like they're coming from something large, something stable, something still operating even though our entire grid is dead. I've been sitting here trying to tell myself it's not what I think it is, that it's just a byproduct of the collapse, that I'm exhausted and imagining patterns where none exist. But then I think about the silence from every major government, every military channel, every international signal. The complete blackout of official communication. Not scrambled, not jammed, just empty. If something had targeted the world's infrastructure, who would have the power to fight back? Who would even understand it? Maybe no one. The haze outside is getting thicker. I can see less of the street now. The outlines of buildings are softer, blurred. People walking through it look like silhouettes, swallowed by a pale fog. Some of them are covering their mouths with cloth. Others aren't. I don't know if it's dangerous, but everything inside me tells me to keep the windows closed. Someone was standing across the street a few minutes ago, right at the edge of the haze. A tall man in a long coat. He wasn't moving. He was staring at the station. Not walking, not shouting, just staring. His face was hard to see through the fog, but I felt his eyes on me even behind the window. When I stepped closer to the glass, he took one slow step backward, then turned and vanished into the haze. I don't know why that unsettled me so much, but it did. People don't move like that unless they're hiding something, or unless they're terrified. I need to talk about the people who have already left the city, the ones who fled as soon as the collapse started. They might be safer now, or they might be walking towards something worse. If the collapse is global, and I fear it is, then the cities aren't the only places falling apart. Rural areas might be safer for a while, but they rely on power too. Water pumps, heating, communication, food distribution, all connected, all vulnerable. I keep hearing faint sirens far away, but none nearby. I haven't seen an emergency vehicle in almost a full day now. Not a single one. If the hospitals are failing, if the police stations are dark, if the fire departments have no comms or power, then we're on our own. Something else happened about 10 minutes ago that I wasn't sure I should mention, but it feels wrong to hide it. The radio signal cut out suddenly, replaced by a single high tone. Not a pulse, not a pattern. A tone so sharp it made my ears ring. It lasted only 5 seconds, then went silent. When the signal returned, the pulses were faster, shorter, like whatever is transmitting them is accelerating. Why would a signal accelerate? Why would anything do that? Unless something is getting closer, or something is strengthening, or something is waking up. I don't know which possibility scares me most. The building made another noise just now. Not from the upper floors this time. From the ventilation shaft behind me. A soft scrape. Metal rubbing lightly. I turned so fast my neck cracked. Nothing there. But the shaft opening looks darker than before. Wider, maybe. No, that's just my mind. Probably just loose metal shifting. Probably. But I moved my chair a few inches forward anyway. I can't stop looking at the haze outside. It's not spreading randomly. It's moving in a direction. North. Always north. Slow but steady. Like it's being pulled by something. Or drawn to something. Or coming from something. The generator sputtered again. The lights dimmed for a full second before coming back. That 1 second felt like falling off a cliff. That's how fragile everything is now. One flicker and I feel like the world is ending all over again. I need to be honest with you. I don't know how much longer I can keep broadcasting. The fuel is low. The generator is failing. The haze is getting thicker. The signal is getting stronger. Something is happening outside. Something we can't understand. Something we weren't prepared for. Something that wasn't meant for us. But I'm not stopping. Not until the very last moment. I'll stay on this mic until the generator dies. Until the signal overtakes the scanner. Until the haze reaches the station. Until I have nothing left to give. Because if someone out there still hears me, then we're still connected. And as long as we're connected, we're not completely lost. I'll take a short pause, just long enough to drink water and breathe. Then I'll be back with what I think may be my final understanding of what's happening. Or at least the closest thing to truth I can give. Don't go anywhere. Don't lose hope. I think this might really be it. The last time I sit in this chair. The last time I speak into this microphone. The last time anyone hears my voice on 104.3 FM. I can feel it in the air around me. The booth is colder now, almost freezing. The generator is barely holding on. Every few seconds it gives this tiny hiccup like a person trying to breathe through broken ribs. The lights above me flicker so often that I've started counting the gaps. measuring the black spaces between the flashes. They're getting longer. The room falls dark for 2, 3, sometimes 4 seconds at a time, and in those seconds I can hear the entire building settle around me. The timbers twisting, the vents humming with that strange distant scrape. I don't think I'll be able to fix anything if the power drops again. The fuel might have enough for another hour, maybe 2, but what good is fuel when the engine itself is dying? Every sound it makes now feels like a goodbye. A slow, tired goodbye. I tried stepping outside one last time before coming back to the mic. Not far, just to the doorway. I don't know why. Maybe to look at the city. Maybe to feel air that wasn't stale and cold. Maybe to see if anyone was still out there. The haze outside is thicker, almost milky now. It hangs low over the street, the way fog does near the lake in early spring. But this isn't fog. Fog doesn't taste like metal dust. Fog doesn't sting the back of your throat. Fog doesn't shimmer under dim sunlight like powdered glass. The haze now covers the entire street from end to end. I couldn't see the stop sign across the intersection. Buildings are ghost shapes. People, I didn't see many people at all. One figure far away, walking slowly through the haze with their hands out in front like they were feeling their way through a dream. And further down, a group huddled under a broken awning, wrapped in blankets, unmoving. I don't know if they were sleeping or just too cold to move. Or worse, everything moves slower out there. Everything sounds quieter, like the city is sinking under a layer of silence. And then I heard it, the sound I've been hearing through the scanner for 2 days, but this time with my own ears outside the booth. A low hum, deep, vibrational, coming from far beyond the skyline. It wasn't loud, but it was huge, like the sound of something massive shifting against the air itself. Not a plane, not a machine, not thunder, something different, something constant, presence more than a noise. It was the same rhythm as the pulses I've been hearing on the scanner, the same cadence, the same rise and fall, only now I could feel it in my chest. I stared up at the sky even though I couldn't see anything through the haze. The hum passed through me like a slow heartbeat, and then it faded, swallowed by the stillness. I came back inside as fast as I could, shut the door, locked it again, and sat down here. I don't want to be alone out in the open anymore. I barely want to be alone in this building. The walls feel thinner now. I've put together everything I can. All the pieces, all the bits of information from Sam, from the scanner, from the strange failures, from the silence across every frequency. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if anyone will ever confirm this. But I think you deserve to hear what I believe before this broadcast dies. I don't think this was an attack. Not in the way we understand attacks. I don't think this was war. I don't think it was sabotage. I don't think it came from a government or a rogue group or anything made by human hands. I think the pulses, the first ones detected weeks ago, the ones that kept coming, the ones that grew stronger, were signals. Not directed at us. Not meaning to harm us. More like waves from something moving through space. Something vast and powerful. Something passing by our world the way a ship passes by a buoy in the ocean. The collapse, the grid failures, the satellites frying, the synchronized outages might not have been an intention. It might have been a side effect, like standing too close to something enormous. Something that bent the electromagnetic field. Something that warped electricity without even trying. Something whose presence broke every fragile machine we built. I don't think we were targeted. I think we were simply too small to survive the wake of something larger. And now the after effects are still moving across the planet. The haze, this shimmering dust drifting across the sky, might be particles disturbed by whatever passed through. Or maybe it's residue, fallout from the collapse of the grid. Or maybe something else entirely. Something we're not built to understand. The signal I've been hearing, The pulses, they're changing again. Faster now. Shorter. The hum beneath them rising. If the source of that signal is moving, then maybe it's moving away. Or maybe it's getting closer for one final pass. I don't know which possibility terrifies me more. The generator coughed again. The lights dimmed for almost 8 seconds this time. When the room went dark, I could hear the building groaning. These deep, slow cracks in the structure, like something settling under pressure. And in that darkness, for the first time, I heard something else. Something small. Light footsteps, moving down the hall. Not rushing, just walking. I froze in my seat. I couldn't see anything, but I heard it clearly. The steps stopped right outside the booth door. For a moment, I thought whoever it was would try to open it. They didn't. They just stood there, breathing. Then the lights flickered back on, and the footsteps moved away. I didn't go check. I'm not opening that door again unless the generator dies. Whatever or whoever is wandering this building can keep their distance. I'm trying to breathe slow, trying not to panic, but my chest feels tight, like something pressing down on it. Maybe it's the cold. Maybe it's the haze outside. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's all of it. I'm going to say something now that I never thought I'd say on air. If you're out there listening, thank you. You kept me sane these last hours. You kept me from falling apart completely. Talking to you has been the only thing standing between me and the kind of fear that swallows a person whole. If you're still alive, still breathing, still fighting, don't stop. Even if whatever passed through our world changed everything, even if the world we knew is gone, even if the old systems never come back, there's still a future out there somewhere. People will find each other. People will rebuild something. Maybe not what we had. Maybe something smaller, quieter, simpler, but something human. We've survived worse across history. We'll survive this too. Maybe not all of us. Maybe not most of us. But someone will. I want to give you something real, something honest, something to carry into whatever comes next. You're not powerless. You're not forgotten. You're not alone. I'm going to stay here as long as I can. The generator can't hold much longer. The pulses on the scanner are so strong now they're shaking the speaker cone. The haze is brushing against the windows, and the air inside the booth feels heavier with every breath. This is Rick Calder, broadcasting for what might be the last time on 104.3 FM in Chicago. If this is the end, if tonight the world goes completely dark, if the silence takes the sky, if the hum finally reaches us, then know this: we lived, we fought, we mattered, and if the sun rises tomorrow on anything left of this world, I hope you're there to see it. The lights are dimming again. The generator is static rising. I'm still here. I'll keep the mic on until the very last second. Whatever happens after that, I hope you endure. I hope you find each other. I hope you survive the dark. This is Rick Calder, signing off.